Good afternoon, Titans, and welcome to this week's edition of Titan Sports. I am your host, Brandy Flores. Beside me is Alexandra Esparza, and we're here to give you the latest scores, highlights, and everything else Titan athletics. How are you doing today, Alexandra?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Did you see that comeback victory, the Dodgers, bottom of the ninth, game 2? Justin Turner,
I saw that. He came in clutch.
Now let's see what's going on with Titan athletics.
Last Saturday, Titans volleyball continued their brief homestand with a match against Big West opponent UC Davis. Madeline Schneider was on fire, posting her 7th double-double of the season with a career-high 26 kills and 12 digs. Great defensive efforts also came from Anaya Henry with a career-best 6 block assists and Katie Francis, who produced a career-high 30 digs. The Titans came out strong, winning the first set 25-19. From there, points were close as neither team led by more than 4 points. The Titans managed to take the Aggies to 5 sets, but lost 18-16. Cal State Fullerton falls to 4-16 and looks to get their first win in conference play against Long Beach State this Tuesday in Titan Gym.
The Titans hit the links Monday as men's golf took part in the Bill Cullum Invitational. After day 1, they finished tied for 6 at 3 over par, 291, and are only 2 strokes back from 3rd place. The Titans are 12 strokes behind leader UC Santa Barbara, and Matt Wilson leads the Titans team with 1 under par, 71, putting him 5 shots behind the individual leader, Nick Swanson of Santa Barbara. Martin Manilow, competing as an individual, finished 2 under 70 par, which landed him 8th in the standings. The Titans will return to the course Tuesday to finish up the final 2 rounds.
Sunday's double overtime marathon ended in a draw for the women's soccer team as they tied against an undefeated UC Davis team in conference play. Scoring got started early as Casey Hoover managed to strike for her 3rd goal of the season in the 37th minute. Fresh off receiving Defensive Player of the Week honors, Morgan Birch made a huge save for the Titans off an Aggies penalty kick in the 73rd minute. Fullerton had to finish the game with only 10 players as Jessica Simonian was issued a red card. This proved costly as UC Davis answered back with the equalizer in the 77th minute. The Titans now stand at 9-3-3 as they go on the road to take on the Cal Poly this Thursday.
Now we'll send it off to Michael Patterson for this week's roundtable discussion. Take it away, Michael. Hello, everyone. I'm your roundtable host, and with us today are soccer analysts Matthew Kirkland and Michael Patterson. We'll be giving you the inside scoop into both men's and women's soccer programs and the breakdown of this season so far. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing good. How are you, Brandy?
I'm all right. Now, one question. So, Matt, how is the conference play this so far for men's soccer?
So conference play for men's soccer hasn't been the best. They've gone 2-3-1 in their last 6 games in conference, and they've played some of the toughest teams in conference. They started out with all of the Big West North teams who are sitting atop of the Big West, and then they're going to finish their final 4 conference games with games against UC Irvine, CSUN, and UCR. So they're hoping they can get at least 9 points, maybe 12 points out of these next couple matchups so they can finish with a good seed in the Big West tournament.
Now, is there anything that you're noticing that you think the team should change or do a little bit better in?
The team definitely needs to finish some more of their attacks in the attacking third. They're doing a good job getting the ball up to the attacking third. Their midfield play has been really, really strong, and they're getting a lot of crosses into the box. They just haven't been able to convert a lot of those chances. Their goal percentage was a .96 in the games before conference, and they've actually raised it to 12% of their shots in conference play. So they're doing a little bit better job in these last 6 games, but they still need to pick it up to get a better seed in conference.
Yeah, definitely. It's super important, especially for during conference play and leaning down towards the end of the season. Michael, what about the women's conference play? How are they doing?
Well, it's kind of a lot of the same as the men's season. They started off really strong in the beginning of the season, and now they're in conference play. They've been playing some of their tougher opponents that are at the top of the bracket. Definitely not how I think they imagined the season going. They're 2-1-1, which is not bad. They've got 7 points. It's, I think, the middle of the bracket right now. Again, with them, it's just they start off really strong in that first half, but they just can't finish in that second half.
So it sounds like both programs do need to just work on just finishing the games then.
Exactly.
Definitely. The men's team also, they've given up a few goals right before the first half has concluded. They've played really well to start off the game with a lot of energy, but it seems like that goal right before the 45th minute kind of takes some energy out of the team and leaves them with a little bit of a dejected second half. If they can maybe stop that goal from happening right before a first half, maybe they can carry their momentum through the game better.
Yeah, definitely. So Michael, how was the most recent matchup with the women's?
All around great game. First half. Second half, not so much. You know, the team, their stats this season, they've been out-shooting, out-cornering all of these teams they play against. But I've heard it from 3 different players now across 3 different games that they come out of half and they're just not able to play as well as they did in the first. This UC Davis team they played against, not a great team. They were 4-9 going into the season, 3-0 in conference play, which is shocking to me. And they started out with that 1-0 lead, and then it just turned into this very physical kind of junk ball matchup. There were a total of 7 yellow cards in the game and 1 straight red card, and it just they fell apart.
Now let me ask, what she do to get that red card?
It was a handball in the box. Samantha Comans, and I talked to Samantha Comans and Morgan Birch after the game, and we didn't get a good view up in the box, but what Morgan told me was that there was a shot on goal, and she kind of went out to block it with her hand, a la Luis Suarez in World Cup 2014. And she just got a straight red card and got sent off.
What a bummer. And so what about the men's? How was their most recent matchup?
The men's most recent matchup, kind of like the women's. They lost 2-1 against UC Riverside in a game that they really needed to take. UC Riverside is the only team sitting below them in the Big West South right now. And so they should have really gotten 3 points out of it. They came away with no points. They tied the game up in the 56th minute, so they came back out of the first half with a really strong showing, but they gave up a goal late in the 79th minute again and could just not get anything going in those last 10 minutes. They really needed to get some points out of this decision, so it was a tough game for the Cal State Fullerton men's team.
So it sounds like both programs right now, they just need to finish, they just need to end strong, and then just a little bit of fine tune-ups to fix here and there, I guess, to overall meet that end goal of getting that W. So are there any standout players for the men's right now who are just killing it?
Right now, Ross McPhee, a midfielder, he's actually from New Zealand, and he's in his senior year. And he's been playing extremely well. He's leading the team with 15 points, and it's almost twice as many as the second leader in points on the team. He has 6 goals and 3 assists, so he's doing a little bit of scoring, a little bit of helping out the other guys score. I think he's definitely been the standout player so far.
So pretty well-rounded.
Definitely. Like I said, the midfield has been kind of the strength of their team so far. He's been a box-to-box player, been able to go back and make some defensive plays and then bring up the attack up the field as well.
That's great. And then what about the women's?
Easily, this one for me is Morgan Birch, the goalkeeper. She's the reigning Big West Defensive Player of the Week. In that week, she had a .889 save percentage and averaging half a goal a game. I mean, that is spectacular. She made a great save in the game against UC Davis, blocking a penalty, which would have kept them in the game 1-0. Unfortunately, they were able to equalize later on in the game. But multiple times in that game and their matchup against CSUN, just making great saves and keeping them in the game.
Well, that is really great for those players. Now, are there any up-and-coming players right now for the women's who are still kind of like the unsung heroes of the team?
Yeah, I'd have to go with young freshman Samantha McKenna. You know, she's my standout choice for obvious reasons. Started off the season as a freshman, a newcomer, and then she's come on as kind of a super sub kind of role player. And then she came on in the game against USD and scored her first goal. And since then has just been scoring more and more. She's, I believe, up to 3 goals now. And now she's starting the games consistently alongside Sarah Feiner. And it seems to me that Sarah Feiner's kind of taken her under her wing to get better as the season progresses. And she's going to be one to look for definitely later on in her career.
That's great. Can't wait to see what more she can do for the Titans, especially as a freshman. It's awesome. What about the men's team then?
Men's team, another newcomer for a player to watch. Mark Hernandez is a transfer player from Golden West College. So he's in his junior season for Cal State Fullerton, but his first season with the team. And he's second on the team with 7 points. Third on the team with 7 points. And he scored 2 goals and netted 3 assists. Kind of like Samantha, he's now made his way into the starting lineup, and he's a really important player for them out on the wing in their attack.
That's great. So it sounds like these newcomers are just killing it right now, which is great. And so looking forward to the season for the men's team, where do you see them ending up in conference?
The men's team, it's kind of tough to see where they're going to end up in conference right now. They only sit 1 point out of first place in the Big West South, but they are actually 3rd in the standings. So it's kind of a mess right now in the Big West South. A lot of teams are really, really close together in terms of wins, losses, and points. But they do have 4 more games coming up against all Big West South opponents, and if they can get some wins and some decisions out of those games, they can really finish with a high seed. Their next game is coming up against UCI, and head coach George Kuntz was the head coach there for 19 seasons before coming to Cal State Fullerton. So I think now in his 4th season with us, he's going to know a lot about the way UCI plays, some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses, probably some of their coaching staff as well. So it'll be an interesting game. They play UCI twice over the next 4 games. And it'll be interesting to see if they can get 2 wins out of that, maybe a win and a tie, and move up to first place in the Big West South.
Okay, so Michael, how are the women's doing so far? Sorry, okay, I'm gonna restart. So Michael, what do you think the women's team is gonna end up in conference as well?
You know, I mean, they're a team that has everything they need to win the tournament this season. The defense, the midfield, and their attacking, and the goalkeeper, all strong. Their next matchup is against Cal Poly, who sit in last place. They're not a good team. I'm just going to be straight up. So if Cal State Fullerton cannot pull off the W, things might be a little bleak looking at the end of the season.
All right, it sounds like things are looking up for the Titans. That's all for today's roundtable. Coming up, we have Julia Islas with our Titan Timeline.
Hey Titans, I'm Julia Islas, inviting you to all of this week's sporting events. In the heat of midterm season, I think we can all agree that a trip to Hawaii is much needed. On the top of our agenda, we'll now be watching our very own women's volleyball team serve some competition against the University of Hawaii at 10 p.m. October 21st. If Hawaii is a bit of a trip for you, I have the perfect alternative. Let's kick it with the women's soccer team as they face Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo this Thursday at 7 p.m. Let's also welcome them back home as they face the Gauchos on Saturday the 22nd at 5 p.m. or even tune in on ESPN3. Our men's soccer team will be competing at UCI the 18th at 7 p.m. and returning to our home turf Saturday the 21st against UC Riverside at 7 p.m. If you're feeling like making a racket, serve some support for our women's tennis team as they make their way to the ITA Regionals in San Diego from the 19th to the 23rd. Lastly, let's cross the finish line by sprinting over to the Titan Track Complex at 5 p.m. this Friday. The track team will be participating in our very own Titan Invitational, so be sure to stick around for quite the event, or should I say, events. Now that's a wrap-up for this week's Titan Timeline. Signing off, I'm Julia Islas, wishing our athletics the best of luck and hoping to see you at all of these occasions.
That's it for this week's episode of Titan Sports. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check out our previous installment on our Titan Sports YouTube channel.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CSUF Titan Sports, or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with all things Titan athletics. On behalf of Titan Sports Team, I'm Brandy.
And I'm Alexandra.
And thanks for watching. Remember to keep those tusks up, Titans. We'll see you next time.